Hello you all and welcome to another That's Just Wild Q&A, where we take on your astounding questions about nature and wildlife. Incidentally, they are astounding. Please keep sending them in because we love them and couldn't do the show without them. I'm Steve Backshall, and as always I'm joined by...
Me, Lizzie Daly.
And me, Sarah Roberts.
Okay, so the first question is for you, Steve, from Ollie Rooney via email. Hi, Steve. Firstly, love the podcast and I listen to it on my way to and from lectures. I'm a conservation biology student at Exeter University Cornwall campus. Woo! In brackets, it is the best place to live. Yes, I agree. By the way, if you didn't get...
Yeah, Lizzie went there.
I studied there. My question is, do animals that fight each other, for example, two males competing for a female, know how big, strong or skilled they themselves are in order to weigh up their chances of beating their opponent? If so, would you say they have some sense of self? Ooh. Also, as part of Nature Watch, woo! The Wildlife Documentary Society, where Lizzie started her epic wildlife presenting career, can I just say, very small interjection, it was the best thing ever. Group of nerds just got together. We all decided to make our own films. Not very good, but we loved it. It was a great place to start. Anyway.
Did you start that? Were you
I was one of the first presenters, yeah. Anyway, I am a leading... Steve?
What?
Did you not like it?
No, I mean, I'm just looking at Sarah because so obviously you wrote this question yourself.
Did you?
No, I mean, as in
Lizzie,
Lizzie obviously wrote this question. You obviously wrote this question.
Yeah. Ollie Rooney's not real.
That's like a... if I jumble those letters up, it's going to come up with...
my name.
Yeah.
Lizzie was here. Anyway, Ollie, sorry about that. I am leading a new project called Deadly Cornwall. This is Ollie, not me. Inspired...
Okay, we're back in the room.
Inspired by your very own Deadly 60. So would you please help us make the coolest episode ever by featuring an episode in spring about adders? Thanks,
well, I
Ollie.
mean, first of all, where I live right now is the best place in the world for adders. We have them literally in our garden all the time. So, Ollie, yeah, come to my house. Superb.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Super question. And yes, animals absolutely size each other up before they take each other on. I've got some awesome examples. The one that stands out more than any other was when we were filming great white sharks in Guadalupe off the coast of Mexico, and we got this incredible behavior where there was food in the water and lots of sharks around. I think we had about 9 great whites at one time in the vicinity of the bait, and before they approached, almost every time the 2 biggest sharks would come in, they would broadside each other, so they were swimming parallel with each other for a short period of time, and then the smallest one would super quickly jackknife its body and swim off, and the big animal would come in and approach the food. And what they're doing is they're putting themselves aside a rival. They're figuring out which one is biggest. The biggest gets the chance to go into the bait. If the connection was closer and they were more similarly matched, they might well have a bit of a face-off, even kind of full-on grab a hold of each other, or try and bump each other before coming into the food, coming in at the same time. If there is a disparity in size, smaller animal backs down every single time. I've seen the exact same thing happen with crocodiles, particularly in the north of Queensland in Australia. Crocs come in for a bait, 2 big crocs, and the biggest one gets seniority, comes in every time. And it also relates to the thing on, which I think we talked about in another episode, which is crocs gaping and basking.
Yeah.
So the fact that if there is a male croc and it's up on a riverbank and it's basking, it has its mouth open at a certain degree, a certain angle. And if a bigger croc comes in, the smaller croc will reduce the size of its gape. It will make it a smaller angle of its bite, expressing the fact that the bigger animal is senior, larger, and it is therefore in kind of deference to that larger animal. So yes, absolutely. And I could give you 100 other examples of where animals, even ones that are relatively simple in their brain size, they're not going to take on an adversary who is definitely going to beat them. There's just no point. In that case, quite often you'll find in things like elephant seals, smaller males will come up with different strategies, sneaky strategies, to be able to approach a female without having to take competition and potential injury from a bigger animal. So yeah, it's a cracking question, and it 100% absolutely happens.
I love that.
But then the sense of self thing, that's interesting. So the bit that you added on the end was would you say that weighing up the chances of beating an opponent leads to them having a sense of self?
I think that's a different question.
I think it's a different question, and I think that it's something that we talked about before as to whether animals have sense of self. There's significant evidence for primates and for members of the dolphin family having a very defined sense of self. Whether it happens to other animals that may have smaller processing power, who knows? It doesn't necessarily correlate to that pure and simple sizing up the physical mass of another animal and deciding whether it's an equivalent opponent. Does it? I wouldn't have thought.
I don't know.
I was just in a bit of a wormhole thinking about there was this case study of bonobos where because over the dominant males, some of the subordinate males would do this thing where they'd literally gaze over at a tree where there was nothing on that tree, but it was to get that dominant male to look at that tree and think there's something over there, and then head over to that tree to look for food while they mate with the females. And we talk about awareness in species, and it comes obviously with a higher level of cognition and sociality that we see in our primates. But to me, that's what being self-aware is. It's quite a debated thing, though, isn't it? Because there's different levels of
you must have some sense of self because you're trying to protect yourself by doing that behaviour. So you also are aware that you are not strong enough to take on the male, and you're also aware that you don't want whatever consequences going to come from that challenge either. But there are, like, compared to the red spot things we've talked about before, where you put a red spot on a chimp or you put a red spot on a dolphin or you put it on various animals and they see themselves in a mirror, are they going to notice something's off? Are they going to try and wipe that off, or are they going to attack the mirror? But yeah, it's a whole topic on itself, isn't it?
So there you go, Ollie. I mean, we may or may not have answered that question. What we have unequivocally proved is that if you, in your question, big up Lizzie, big up me, big up Exeter University, then your question will absolutely get read out and answered.
And you got an invite to Steve
Backshall's house.
We heard
I mean, gosh, how about that?
To Shark Daddy's house.
It's going to stick.
Now, for you, Sarah, this question is from Asher Workman via email. Hi, love the pod. Bit of a niche question. We love niche questions, Asher.
It's actually shark related, isn't it?
About 5 years ago, in my first year at university, I dissected a dogfish only to find it didn't have a brain. It was as if its skull had been wiped completely clean, but the dogfish was completely intact before I dissected it. My professor couldn't think of an explanation, and it's been plaguing me for years. Any idea how this could be?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, I do. Yes.
That's cool, though.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
It was such a cool question that I used my phone a friend credit and immediately spoke to my friend Hannah Rutzen, who lives over in Florida and runs American Shark Conservancy. And I was like, quick inquiry. I actually asked a couple of shark-related experts on this because I was super intrigued. We all love a parasite anyway. I was like, oh my God, is there something that we missed off when we did our parasite podcast?
Yeah.
Although there are a number of parasites that do migrate their way over to a shark's brain, some of them may start in their gills. For example, you've got nematodes, tapeworm, fluke parasites. All of these can enter the brain tissues accidentally or intentionally, whichever way you look at it, but they don't eat the entirety of the shark's brain. That doesn't happen. The brain would still be there. It might be a bit mushed, it might be a bit broken down, but for it not to be there at all, I think is the bit that stumps people straight off. Now, the problem is, you have to get a bit like Poirot on this question because we don't have much information. So I don't know the age of this dogfish. Also, dogfish, for anyone that doesn't know, you're probably, I'm assuming, referring to a cat shark. With that, could be a lesser spotted cat shark or any different. So a small shark species that's like a foot to a couple of foot in length. And we have them all around the UK as well. Lesser spotted cat farts. Lesser spotted cat sharks. We have them all around our coastline. But we don't know the age of it. So if this was an embryo of a shark and for some reason, maybe there was a mutation, the brain didn't form properly, then there's a chance that, you could cut it open, the brain's not there. It wouldn't be a living shark. It would never have survived past, its egg case or past getting to a certain size in the womb of the shark. However, what I learnt is that if you ever do an autopsy of a
Sarah,
shark,
you're really building this up.
I know, because it's so flipping crazy. You imagine like dissecting a shark and expecting to see all the very many organs, and it's just not there. But the be all and end all is the brain is super fragile, and it's the first thing to break down. So if you get a washback shark, so Hannah, my friend, works a lot with any of the sharks that have washed up on shore, like the great hammerheads, anything like that in Florida. She's the one that gets called in to do the dissections. And if they're working with a university that wants brain tissue samples, that's the first thing they ever do, is they have to cut the shark open and go straight to the brain and get it straight into
away.
Into the formaldehyde.
Yeah.
Yes. Because it breaks down so quickly. So if this shark had technically been stored in a freezer, or it had, it'd been caught a while earlier, the chances are it definitely had a brain when it was living and it was swimming around. Otherwise, it just would cease
So it's just
to be.
broken, it's decomposed.
Yeah, it's decomposed. It's not been stored properly. That is the most likely answer.
If you have a washed up shark and it is old, that's likely the case that they'll have no brain.
Not necessarily. The brain is basically the first thing to break down because it's so fragile, the brain tissues. If you need to get a brain sample, you have to do it really, really quick after death.
No, I get that, but you'd imagine some kind of organic matter left in the skull.
You would, but what I was talking to Hannah, and what she imagined happened is whatever the liquid is that they've stored it in, whether that is formaldehyde, it could be that there's been an issue with the way that they've stored it, or the liquid itself was mixed wrong, in which case the brain's just not survived. And so that was what's
I wasn't
happened.
under the impression that it was stored.
No,
but
we
then it
don't
doesn't
have any.
say,
Well, yeah, that's it. Well, I wasn't under the impression. I thought they just pulled it out the sea and it was swimming along, and I was like, "Wow, this is." I was thinking of your zombie parasites and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But no, the most logical answer is a bit more
Decomposed.
boring. Yeah,
That is a high quality question.
Very.
It was a great question. I loved
anyone
it.
out there who has a question like that, you can send in to us. Do it, because we live for this stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Really cool. Got us all thinking.
So the next question for you, Lizzie, is from Lauren Abbott via Instagram. Hi, I'm a big fan of the show. I was wondering if you could explain what on earth this crab is doing.
Okay, for those who haven't seen this video, it's a very short clip. It's about 10 seconds long, based on Pensacola Beach. I'm just rewatching it now. And there's a ghost crab. Do you guys want to see it? There's a ghost crab like running along, and then almost like coming up to the towel, dumping sand, and then giving her the evil eye. So it's this whole like ghost crab going back and forth from what looks like a
What? It's just a crab digging a burrow.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, let's lean on that.
I'm so sorry.
No, but let's lean on that.
You know, though, Steve, when we were talking about social media, this is why we don't
gained 2
understand why
followers,
things
we
go
lost 10
viral.
We do love your questions, all of them. Anyway, I like that Steve said that, because this has gone mad. It's got like millions of views, thousands of comments, and you're absolutely right. It's just a ghost crab on Pensacola Beach. They're very common, but they deep these big kind of J-shaped burrows on the beach. And if you're lying your towel on this ghost crab burrow, then it's probably going to be a little bit pissy with you. And it's not uncommon for them to have multiple entrances or exits. So, that towel could have gone on top of an entrance or an exit. And equally, these crabs are constantly maintaining these burrows. So they're moving of sand from one place to another. That's all it's doing.
The way you bigged it up, I was expecting it to look more like it was properly peeved, whereas it just looked like what a crab looks like.
Steve was
but it's the
expecting
internet,
SpongeBob
Steve.
SquarePants quality
Okay.
cartoon version crab.
Well, let me save
side-eye.
it with something cool about ghost crabs.
Yeah, go on.
Because if ghost crabs are threatened, they sometimes produce sounds with their claws. But I don't know if you know that inside their stomach, they have teeth-like structures, and they use it to actually grind food. But new science has actually shown that they're able to use this to create like a guttural sound to warn off predators. So they use their claws if they're far away, and then when they get close, they'll start using this kind of really aggressive sound and then get ready to fight, which I think is very cool and makes everything Much better. Your final question is for you, Steve, from Ralph, aged 11. With animals such as the hairy frogfish and the anglerfish, are their lures pain sensitive? Because if anything wanted to bite them, I'd imagine it would hurt. P.S. I am a huge fan of yours.
Yet again, Ralph, with a little bit of ego primping, you get your question answered. It's that easy. So anglerfish, we talked about quite a lot on the pod in the past. Amazing. Hairy frogfish is a more shallow water version of that. They're kind of round. They've got an enormous, great big mouth.
They look like boglins.
Apparently, they look like boglins.
Google it.
All right. Oh.
I can say that I showed one to a friend of mine recently, and she said it looks like a fish that has already been battered and deep fried, which is a little bit unkind. Amazingly charismatic, and they have a fishing lure with what looks like a little shrimp on the end of it that they twitch around in front of their head to entice things to come in, grab a hold of it, and then they get munched. The fishing rod itself is called the Elysium, and it's actually a modified fin ray. And then the lure at the end of it is called the Esker, and that can be different depending on the different species. There are some kind of deep sea species in which the Esker has bioluminescence, can actually glow and attract things in towards it. And in answer to your question, yes. And it doesn't just have nerves, but it has highly, highly sensitive nerves and a really good blood flow as well. So much so that not only can they trigger its movement at precisely the right moment, but they can even use it to sense, almost like a fish's lateral line or like a cat's whiskers. They can use it to sense movement in the water around it. So if a fish comes in to investigate, they can sense it through its movement through the lure. So yes, they absolutely can experience pain were anything to grab a hold of that lure. So the key is not to get it munched, is to make sure that it's drawn swiftly out of the way as quickly as anything comes in towards it. But then
they do. Yeah.
I would not
frogfish
do well if I was one of these animals.
Which one? The frogfish?
My light would be gone within a day. I wouldn't be
Why?
able to. Well, I'm not quite that fast moving. My reactions are very slow.
So one of the coolest things about the frogfish is that they barely move at all. They just walk along the bottom on these pectoral fins.
Yeah, it looks really
and they
cool.
appear to be just like a little round, half squishy grapefruit that you wouldn't believe can move
A boglin.
at all.
A boglin.
I don't
Apparently
think
a
no.
boglin.
No, it looks nothing like a boglin.
But
It looks like a boglin.
we filmed them striking in super, super slow-mo because they are officially the fastest striking fish in the world.
Are
And
they?
it happens faster than your eye can actually see. And they can take in things that appear to be bigger than their whole body. The strike doesn't go very far. The bottom jaw distends downwards. The head comes up and back. And they create this kind of vortex, this sucking vacuum effect that brings things into their mouth. So they don't actually travel very far, but it happens in such fractions of a second that unless it's sped right down, you just can't see it happening.
Big gulp.
Yes, absolutely. So the key is they're twitching around this esker, this lure. Things come in to investigate it. They can sense that thing being nearby from the vibrations of them swimming around, and then bam, it's gone in an instant. So hopefully they can preserve it, because if not, yes, it would really, really, really hurt.
So on that question then, would prey ever learn, because obviously they're attracted to these lures, but do you think there'll ever be a world where, you know, prey may learn that they are actually a
Bit like
lure, or
banging a
test
shark
the
in
lure
the
and
nose.
somehow, you know, be able to, I don't know.
Possibly.
yeah.
I have to say, I was really surprised being up super, super close to this hairy frogfish lying on the bottom of the sea in the Lembeh Strait in Indonesia, having one just, I don't know, 8-10 inches in front of my face. The lure itself is such a perfect representation of a small shrimp. The body shape is perfect. It even has dark eye spots
Yeah,
to
cool. What the
represent
heck?
a shrimp. And then the fishing rod, the Elysium, is so thin that it's almost invisible.
It's like translucent.
And the fish itself is really well camouflaged.
Yeah.
It's such perfection in evolution.
And that will always be driven alongside any, you know, prey being able to detect that it's not, you know, it's not a real thing. That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Great question. Great question to end
cracker.
on. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for this week. As always, please send your questions along to questions@that'sjustwild.com and we'll answer them on the show.
That's Just Wild is an original Fresh Air production. The producers are Eva Higginbotham and Emma Crampton. Your support is really welcome. You can follow us on your favourite podcast app, leave us a review. It makes all the difference to the whole team.
Remember, we're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and you can find us at That's Just Wild Pod. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
For ad-free listening, our newsletter, special deep dive episodes and members-only benefits, you can subscribe to us at that'sjustwild.com.